what is the ego? Because ego is a construct. So ego is something that is created in us when we are growing up, right? It's a program. If you can understand that it's actually something that is inside our mind that is telling us things, because it has kind of like it has its own system inside our mind, right? Sometimes the ego will tell you to be safe, right? Tell you things that, oh, don't do that, it's not for you, things like that. And its purpose is actually to keep you safe. It's a programming that you have. Or a lot of times what ego does is trying to make you look good. And so a lot of people have that. And nowadays in social media, you can actually see that, right? So people post, like the beautiful side of them. And no one, or very rare for people to post the bad things that is happening in life, right? Because almost everyone wants to look good. And that is ego, right? So ego is a programming that we have inside. And similarly, when we talked about mindfulness like a few weeks ago, when you start to become more mindful, when you start to become more self-aware and you hear all these things, you will hear your ego, right? You will hear what your ego is telling you. And it manifests in different ways, right? In your life. It can be like, for example, there are what we call, I don't know if you have experienced this, but there are people who are yes men. They always say yes. Like whatever you say, they say yes. And even though they don't think you're right, they would say, yes, yes, you're right, just to please you, and so that they also look good. And that's the ego. And the problem with ego is it stops you from achieving what you want in life, right? Because in order to achieve what you want in life, you really need to be fully authentic to who you are, because that's the only way you can become your best self. If you are authentic, if you get in touch to who you really are, that's how you become a better version of yourself. The journey is actually to reach your ideal self. By doing that, meaning, getting rid of your ego, or not getting rid, or maybe putting it aside, then you get to understand who you are as a person. And so that's what ego does, right? But again, stepping back, understanding that ego is a program, it's a construct. It's something that is not real. Yeah, it's something that is just playing inside your head. So that is the ego. And when you hear it, just say hi. Hi, ego. How are you? Now that I know you, now that I notice you, I won't listen to you all the time. So that's what you tell the ego. Because you have to listen to your own voice, not the ego's voice. Is the saying, we only need to be successful once, true today? In terms of, let's talk about business. Honestly, I was going through my entrepreneurship journey, just trying out things. And, like an opportunity came, let me do this, see what happens. It seems like a very good business. I'll have fun, I'll earn money, I'll help people. Oops, it didn't go well. Try another one. So I was doing that, right? I met this entrepreneur from Philippines. He became popular because he was the first one who did that printer, it has an ink, right? So when it prints, then the ink runs out and then you refill the ink, right? You replenish the ink. So before, you had to buy the ink from the printers, right, directly. But then the technology improved and they were able to refill the inks on the spot. So he was the first one to actually grow that business in Philippines. And so I met him, we got to know each other. And then his story was, before he became successful in that business and became big, he had like so many shops all over Philippines, like hundreds. Before he became successful, he actually had 3 or 4 other businesses that he did in the past that totally failed. And, he just kept on going and trying out new things. And so at one point, his mom was asking him, hey, his name is Jerry, by the way. He's Jerry. So, trying out businesses and you lose money, trying out businesses and you lose money. And shouldn't you just stop and go back to employment? Is money the most powerful resource in doing business? All right. This is a very, very important question because I think a lot of people get stuck in terms of whether they have started their business or whether they are running already their business. And they get stuck into the idea that money is really the most important thing in terms of business. It is important. I'm not like saying it is not. What I'm saying is that it is important. Money is important. And you know what they say, right? Like cash is king. And if you are able to handle money in the business very, very well, then your business will survive. But when it comes to the question, if it's the most powerful resource in doing business, for me, the most powerful resource that you can have as an entrepreneur is actually resourcefulness. Let me say that again. For me, the most powerful resource in doing business is resourcefulness. Let me explain. So there's two things here. So one is resource. So we're talking about resource, and money falls under resource. And then you have people. So manpower. So people or your staff or your employees, whatever you want to call them, is part of resource as well. And then you have let's say for example technology, like software or maybe your computer, your machines in business, whatever your business is. So though all of those are resource, and there's this notion that resource is limited, so scarcity. So all our resources are scarce, and so what I've learned is actually the resources is abundant. So it's just that someone said that, ooh, our resources are limited, but that was like super many years ago, and until now it has been proven many times over again that that's actually not true. The truth is there is abundance, and the reason why there's abundance is because us human beings, we are very resourceful. So we're creative, we are ingenious, we are very flexible, our minds are super good. What I'm looking for the word, it is super talented. Like our mind, we can only access a very small percentage of our mind's capability. Did you know that? And we have already thought about like, amazing things. We've created the rocket, we've created, like solar power. Like our mind is already able to many things because of our creativity, because of our resourcefulness. And for me, that's the most powerful resource in doing business. Because if you can be resourceful, then that cuts out all, like if you have excuses, like people will say, oh, I cannot start a business because I don't have, like $1 million. I cannot start a business. Well, if you think about it, if you are resourceful enough, there are people out there who manage to start big businesses without even putting money in it. And they have, what they did is to sell their idea to people who have the money, and these people put in the money into the business. They're called investors. So once you get the idea that resourcefulness is the most powerful thing, whether you're doing business or you're at work or whatever, because this is totally applicable to anything, any area of your life, then you start thinking differently. How can I be resourceful? How can I make this happen? And I was speaking to someone earlier, and he was given a challenge of traveling to a country with nothing except for her passport. And if the same thing happened to me, I tell you, I wouldn't be scared. And it's because I believe for myself that I'm very, very resourceful and that I can make things happen. So I think that's the most powerful thing that you can have in terms of mindset, is that you can make it happen. Anything is possible as long as you can put your mind into it. Remember that resourcefulness.
Oh, hey there. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember to click the bell button so you get updated of the new videos. See you in the next one.